Hey everybody, welcome to my year-end awards thing, I guess. I have no idea what this video is gonna look like. It might be gameplay with little... I made brackets because visual aids are fun. I say while my eye twitches. But I don't know, gameplay might be happening and box of bracketology, but I don't know if you'll be able to read it. So I don't know. And this was originally going to be at the end of the channel update, but I think that's going to be the perfect length. Maybe. There's a lot of maybes here. But not so many, because I know there are two awards I'm going to give out. Game of the Year and Worst of the Year. First up is going to be Game of the Year because it's going to take the most time. Yeah. Don't worry. I'll rip the bad ones. Do not worry. I compiled all of the games that I played this year into nice, neat little brackets that are somewhere on your screen. Again, I don't know what this video is going to look like. I separated them into genres, and then I paired them up with a game that in that genre that it is similar to. This first category will, hopefully, you'll probably see it. Visual aids. Again, haha. First category up is shooters, both FPS and 3PS. Yep. First up is Modern Warfare versus Gears 5. This is very easy for me. On one hand, we have a game that was made with love and devotion for a fan base that was craving a new installment, one that had a dramatic and intense story mode and a great, may I say, near perfect multiplayer.
Got him.
And the other is Modern Warfare, which feels like it was pushed out of the womb 3 months too soon because abusive stepdad Bobby Kotick needed to milk it and its franchise and its fan base for all it's worth. You best believe that MW is showing up in Worst of the Year. Do not worry, like I said earlier. Point goes to Gears 5. Next up is Borderlands 3 versus The Outer Worlds. Both games are absolutely 100% complete 180s from both MW and Gears 5. Both BL3 and Outer Worlds are bright, colorful, humor-filled games. I love both these games. Again, another contrast from the last two. So this one was a hard choice for me, but ultimately I gotta go with Outer Worlds. I know. The obvious pick was Borderlands 3. It was my most anticipated game of the year, maybe of the entire decade. But much like Modern Warfare, BL3 felt like it needed another month in the oven. It released day one with bugs and glitches and so many performance issues. Plus, there were no dedicated drops. It's a looter shooter, for Christ's sake. That's a pretty big deal and a big part of your looter shooter. You can't farm for weapons? There's no looter part of it then. Outer Worlds came out the oven, quote unquote, perfect. It moves on. Next category is fighters. I only played 3 fighting games, with only one of them being fun to play. And because of only 3 games, and WWE 2K20 being the only 3D fighter I played this year, it gets an auto advance. Do not worry. I'll get to it in the quarterfinal. Rest assured. Next up is Sam Show vs MK11. Sam Show had me at hello, but when I showed up to its house for our first date, it slammed the door in my face. I just didn't find it fun to play. MK11 was the rebound. It was familiar in both franchise, characters, and gameplay. Plus, it had better multiplayer. Who the frick does roomed lobbies now? No one! Just steal that from Arxis or Netherrealm. Nobody would blame you. MK11 moves on. On to the horror category. This year was exceptionally good year for AAA horror game. First matchup is RE2 versus Blair Witch, and then it's the Battle of the Boats. Layers of Fear 2 vs. Man of Medan. First up, RE2 vs. Blair Witch. This is going to be a common thing between both horror rounds. The winner moves on because of one thing that puts it over the edge. I thoroughly enjoyed both of these games, which, reminder, the Blair Witch LP starts tomorrow. Both games are excellent in their own right, doing their own little thing with what they have. I love the original Blair Witch, and the game is great. Flip side, I never played the original RE2, so I went in completely blind with the exception of Mr. X. The game that moves on is Resident Evil 2. The deciding factor? None of the things I mentioned. It's Claire. She's a great protagonist, and her storyline is an emotional roller coaster. She's in Raccoon City to find her brother, but ends up meeting Leon, and Sherry's story is just heartbreaking. Also, you know Leon and Ada fuck hard. They basically say it in RE4, so that's not news. Resident Evil is the most sexless, sex-filled universe ever. You know people are doing it, but they're prudish about it. Claire RE2 wins. It moves on. Next is Layers of Fear 2 versus, I have it abbreviated in my notes, so I almost said left for 2. Not it. God, I almost said it again. Layers of Fear 2 versus Man of Medan. Again, thoroughly enjoyed both of these games. Both were sequels. Man of Medan is technically a sequel to Until Dawn, so it's in the same universe at least. Give me a break. I'm trying to find things to connect it with other than boats. But both are technical sequels, but both lived up to their predecessors. With that said, Layers of Fear 2 had a problem with being a little too symbolic at times, to the point that I didn't know who we were until the very end. And the monster? I guess we'll call him Mr. Clayman thing? Really wasn't all that scary. Not to say Man of Medan had a scary monster. It had no monsters. Honestly, the only thing putting Man of Medan over Layers of Fear 2 is Conrad. Again, there's a common thread here. It's just so close. It's legit close. That Conrad being the most likable character out of both games is what does it. That really says something. I loved both games. Man of Medan moves on because Conrad wins this time. Finally, I didn't get him killed. The last category is other. This is a weird category. It's a category for games that were mostly action adventure platformers, but also not really. First up is Sekiro versus Jedi Fallen Order, and the second is Death Stranding versus DMC5. First up is Sekiro versus Fallen Order. I was excited for Sekiro. I love the Dark Souls franchise. I liked Bloodborne a lot, until I got to the DLC, which was a crap fest. I'm all about that feudal Japan era and how freaking cool it can be. But the amount of bosses in that game that are nothing but ad battles, and the lack of replayability because of the whole you only get one weapon thing, and that most of the bosses are humans or humanoid figures, it reminds me of Dark Souls 2 in a bad way. The only positive I have to say about the game is the Divine Dragon, the folding screen monkeys, Yobu, and the Genichiro fights felt like a Souls game. Jedi Fallen Order is just Sekiro with a Star Wars skin, more polished, and a lot more interesting to play and experience. Hopefully Elden Ring is a return to form for FromSoft. Jedi Fallen Order moves on. Last up is Death Stranding versus DMC5. If I made this video before the end of Q1 2019, DMC5 was my game of the year. Game of the year for the longest time, from its release to basically the beginning of November. Great from start to finish. The characters are great. The gameplay is peak action game. It was one of my favorite LPs that I've done this year. Death Stranding is a weird game that not everyone likes, and I can honestly see why. There isn't a lot of action, mostly walking from point A to point B without tipping over. I had no problem with the gameplay because of the setting, the plot, and most importantly, the character. It's not too often you get a AAA game with a big name developer that is just batshit insane and weird, especially when it's the first game from that developer's new studio. Quote unquote new. I think they've been around for a while, but it's the first time they're self-publishing or something like that. Anyway, I gotta go with the weird Postman Norman Reedus simulator. Death Stranding moves on. That is it for the first, I don't know, rounds, I guess. We're gonna go for speed rounds this time to speed up this video. Gears 5 versus Outer Worlds. For the same reason it beat BL3 in the previous round, Outer Worlds moves on. The thing that decided it? The grindiness of the Gears 5 multiplayer. Grind for 18 hours for this character, or you could just pay us $10 for it. Fuck you, fuck that, and fuck Microsoft. That is terrible. Garbage. Garbage. Next up is the Fighters quarterfinals. That's probably what it is, right? Quarterfinals? MK11 versus WWE 2K20. MK moves on. Are you fucking kidding me with that bullshit? WWE 2K20 is one of the worst games that came out this year. Holy shit, is it bad. The bugs, the glitches, the ref face fucking Charlotte Flair as she has Asuka in the figure 8. Are you shitting me, 2K? All because it costs more to send your team to Japan to talk to Yuke's. Fuck off. Bring back Yuke's and sell the rights to another publisher. Fucking, I don't care. Give it to Bobby Kotick. For all I care. Actually, you know what? Don't do that. Don't do that. I never thought I'd say this, but sell the rights to EA. At least they know how to milk a yearly franchise the right way. Fuck off, 2K. Horror is up next. RE2 versus Mom. This isn't game versus game. This is Conrad versus Claire. But that ends in a tie. And there are no ties here. So I'm gonna give the nod to Resident Evil The Deuce. Comes down to Mr. X being the scariest thing I've seen all year, or at least scarier than Conrad's alcohol addiction. Sorry, Conrad. You get bumped off again. Final round of whatever these are. It's Jedi Fallen Order versus Death Stranding. Death Stranding moves on. Don't get me wrong, don't get me twisted. Jedi Fallen Order is my third favorite game this year. It's just like I said earlier, it's a borderline Dark Souls clone all the way down to the bonfire mechanic. That's not a bad thing, especially in my book. It's just that Death Stranding is basically its own genre. It's weird, it's different. I think it's because I secretly hope that it was a Silent Hill sequel, which it might as well be, because it kind of fits. Plus, those godforsaken archers on that godforsaken second planet can go to hell. You go to hell and you die. The red planet. You're not even supposed to go there until like late game, I believe. It's the one where you get the dual saber. That planet sucks. Hate it. I guess this is semifinals time, right? Side A is Outer Worlds versus MK11, and side B is Resident Evil 2 versus Death Stranding. Outer Worlds versus MK11. MK11 is my favorite fighting game that came out this year, but a fighting game will never be the overall game of the year, no matter how universally loved it is. That's not me saying it, that's just a fact. It all comes down to story. You're not gonna pack a 20+ hour story into a fighting game, because that's not what fighting games are about. It's about fighting other players. MK11 story mode was great, but it wasn't as developed or expansive as Outer Worlds story. Point goes to Outer Worlds. RE2 versus Death Stranding. This is exactly like the other rounds involving RE2. This time, Claire versus Norman Reedus. You had a good run, Claire, but Norman Reedus is Norman Reedus cool, and that's like 5 levels above George Clooney cool. Death Stranding moves on. Final round! Outer Worlds versus Death Stranding. I'm gonna be up front. This came down to one thing, and it's a very, very petty thing. Death Stranding wins. It's my 2019 game of the year. The deciding factor? Downtime. By that, I mean the amount of time I wasn't playing the game. Now, I'm not talking about cutscenes or things that advance the plot. I'm talking about every single mission having to go through a loading screen only to walk 15 feet to my destination, only to be met with yet another loading screen. Death Stranding has one big load when you start the game up, but after that, there's nothing. You might hit a cutscene where it has to load a new world, but outside that, nothing. And yeah, granted, once I got to the mission area, the mission was a good 15-20 minutes long. My problem is getting to said mission and then getting back to turn in said mission. Loading screens is what decides my 2019 Game of the Year. I told y'all it was petty. Plus, Death Stranding's ending is gonna stick with me for years to come. It made me cry. Manly tears, I assure you. But that speaks volumes that that is what decided it. Hopefully we don't have to wait another decade for an Obsidian game, because Outer Worlds, damn good. I'm just hoping PlayStation 5, Xbox, whatever it's called, can live up to their promise of shorter, near non-existent load times. That would be fantastic. If it gets a port to the PS5 or the Xbox thing, I will play it, because if it means you hit that door, it loads for about 5 seconds, and then you're playing the game again, fantastic. Now is the time you have all maybe been waiting for. Time for Worst of the Year. I'm just gonna put it up all at once. No sense in tiptoeing here. All I said about Samsho and Sekiro, at least they weren't cash grab broken games. I also didn't regret buying them. They had time and attention and love poured into them. 2K20 and Modern Warfare had as much time and attention and love poured into them as Donald Trump's wife. Modern Warfare is the worst of the year because Infinity Ward is the worst company ever. They're the worst at communicating with their player base, worst at actually listening to said player base. They're too blinded by their quote-unquote cause, refusing to actually fix the damn game instead of catering to new players, and most of the times, they're just trolling at every turn. I didn't think you could come close to killing a franchise with a fan base as devoted and rabid as COD, but Infinity Ward nearly proved me wrong. That doesn't mean 2K is better, by the way. At least 2K is trying to fix their mistakes. Infinity Ward is just a worse company. This is really like picking between a douche and a turd sandwich, except both choices are a douche sandwich covered in turd sauce. If 2K and Activision went out of business, no one would shed a tear. Fuck them both. Here's to hoping next year isn't filled with as many AAA cash grab games. We know 2K21 is a thing, and I'm predicting an announcement in, say, March or April from Treyarch saying that Black Ops 2020, because you can't put numbers after them damn things anymore or sales will drop, Black Ops 2020 will drop October 25th, 2020. I hope that's not the case, but Bobby Kotick is the devil, and the world of gaming would be a better place if he had a normal desk job and not a greedy CEO. Sic Semper Tyrannis, motherfucker. That was my Game of the Year thing I just said. I have no idea how long this video is, nor do I still know how it looks. Maybe it looks great. Don't know. You do. You just watched it, hopefully. I want to thank you for watching whatever this was. If you liked it, super kick that like button. Check out my channel for more videos I have done. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see y'all next year. Goodbye.